Tomorrow morning, closing arguments will begin in Donald Trump's New York civil fraud case. At stake for Mr. Trump is a possible $370 million penalty and his ability to ever do business again in the state of New York. Yesterday, we learned that Trump himself was planning to deliver part of the defense team's closing argument. But today, the judge presiding over this case, Judge Arthur Engoron, denied that request and posted his entire email exchange with Trump's attorney, Chris Kise, on the court docket. For those of you who have not read it, it is colorful. Judge Engoron initially said he would allow Mr. Trump to speak, but only if Trump would agree to several limitations, including one prohibiting a campaign speech. Trump's attorney rejected those limits, calling them untenable and complaining in the most Trumpy way imaginable, "This is very unfair, Your Honor. You are not allowing President Trump, who has been wrongfully demeaned and belittled by an out-of-control, politically motivated attorney general, to speak about things that must be spoken about." Judge Engoron's response: "Take it or leave it. Now or never. You have until noon. 7 minutes from now, all caps, I will not grant any further extensions." Trump's lawyers did not respond, and their client will not be speaking tomorrow. Joining me now is Susan Glasser, staff writer at The New Yorker and co-author of The Divider. Susan, I was really struck by a number of different exchanges in this court filing on the docket. But the first was the way in which Trump has managed to puppeteer literally every single person around him, including his lawyer, in an email exchange with the judge. I mean, I am not a student of the law, but it just doesn't seem to be a very typical thing to have a lawyer writing things about a wrongfully demeaned client who has been belittled by an out-of-control, politically motivated attorney general, and that the client needs to speak about things that must be spoken about. What do you make of the odd relationship that is being revealed here?
You know, Alex, good eye. I've always thought, and in fact, our reporting suggested that Donald Trump was personally dictating many of the statements that it seemed like he was personally dictating, right? Whether that was from his White House communications office or his campaign team now, or his many, many different teams of lawyers. I think one issue that's clearly going to come up in 2024, in fact, is that Donald Trump is currently employing so many different lawyers in so many different legal proceedings. And your point about how is he possibly managing to literally dictate what the content of individual email exchanges are with different lawyers and different judges in all these cases while also running for president? It's a pretty good question. Clearly, he took some time out of prepping from his town hall discussion on Fox News in order to get involved in the nitty-gritty of this exchange in New York.
Yeah, there's another part where the lawyer, Chris Kise, writes, "The Attorney General seeks the unconscionable and draconian penalty of prohibiting President Trump, who has contributed both professionally and personally to the economic development, job growth, and real estate footprint of New York for some 50 years. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't mention the crowd size at his inauguration in this email. It was like literally Trump verbatim. But to your point, there's only so many pieces of correspondence that Trump can dictate before he won't have any more time left in the day to actually mount a defense. The other part of this that struck me was that Trump cites the death of his mother-in-law as in a bid for an extension on these closing arguments, Susan. As you point out, Trump is still doing his Fox town hall tonight, and yet that didn't seem that the timing of his mother-in-law's death did not affect his ability to participate in that. Is Trump the kind of person that mourns, in your reporting, to an unusual degree?
There is not a lot of evidence to suggest that Donald Trump was particularly close either to his wife's parents or, that he even, for that matter, spent an enormous amount of time with Melania herself, who has been scarce in evidence in the 3 years since Donald Trump left the White House and is not regularly by his side. So there's not a lot in the public record to suggest that Donald Trump is a grieving man tonight. If you look at him, he doesn't seem to be in that mode. He's like the kid who's always saying that he can't turn in the term paper because another grandparent died until the teacher gets suspicious and says, "Wait a minute, how many grandparents do you have?"
Yeah. And then is found at the video game arcade, like playing Pac-Man when he's supposed to be grieving. I did notice that there's a few lines from the Attorney General or the Attorney General's office that explains why it's important to not allow Trump to give a closing statement, a closing argument in this courtroom. And I'll just read an excerpt, what they outlined. They basically say that Trump is prone to giving irrelevant speeches, he lacks self-control, and is evasive to responding to questions. Allowing him to speak would invite more speeches, campaign style, that would disrupt the proceedings. I think that effectively nails that hits a nail on the head in terms of why it's actually dangerous to have Trump give him unfettered access to the microphones in these court proceedings. But it does beg the question, Susan, like, this is an instance where the judge can say Trump cannot talk. There are going to be a lot more trials, presumably, or at least one or two, and there are going to be a lot more courthouse steps that Trump faces. And I think the question is, how can the judicial system manage this process in a way that it does not become, effectively a series of stump speeches for the Trump candidacy?
Yeah, no, I think this is the bigger picture context that's really relevant to 2024, Alex, is this question of the extent to which Donald Trump is able to turn these court proceedings against himself on very, very serious charges of criminal malfeasance. In this particular case, he stands to, be penalized literally hundreds of millions of dollars. And yet Donald Trump remains firmly of the view that there's no microphone that can't be turned to his own advantages as long as it's turned on. And I think also he's looking at the experience that he had in 2023 when the enormous wall-to-wall coverage that attended his multiple indictments and charges in the criminal cases against him, that was actually, as he sees it, perhaps the key to his political resurrection. And, the breathless coverage, that, hanging on his every little utterance. And I think that has been factored into his campaign plan for 2024. And this judge, has a pretty clear read on it. But you're right. If it's a matter of every single day in a criminal trial and he's standing on the steps, there's nothing to stop people from live streaming that and giving Donald Trump this enormous, unique campaigning situation.
Susan Glasser, always with the deep and thoughtful insight and great reporting. Thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that.
General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Willie.
Sir, come on, when is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I'll assume that we're going on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General! General! We need this evac immediately, General. Evac immediately.